I had just read this. I just saw this on AP News, and I was just wanted to talk about this article. And for those of you who did not know what's going on with Trump's um, and administration and its tax tariffs, so here Canada and the EU swiftly retaliate against Trump's steel and aluminum tariffs. I'm gonna read more of this article and tell you guys what I think about it. Major trade partners swiftly hit back at President Donald Trump's increased tariffs on aluminum and steel imports, imposing new taxes on U.S. products from textiles and water heaters to beef and bourbon. And Canada, the largest supplier of standard aluminum to the U.S., said Wednesday it will place 25% of reciprocal tariffs on steel products and also raise taxes on a host of items: tools, computers and servers, display monitors, sports equipment, and cast iron products. Across the Atlantic, the European Union will raise tariffs on American beef, poultry, bourbon, and motorcycles, bourbon, peanut butter, and jeans. And combined, the new tariffs will cost companies billions of dollars and further escalate the uncertainty of two of the world's major trade partnerships. Companies will either take losses and earn fewer points, or more likely pass costs along to consumers in the form of higher prices. Prices will go up in Europe and the United States. Jobs are expected to the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. And we deeply regret the measure. Tariffs are taxes. They're bad for business and even worse for consumers, von der Leyen said. President Donald Trump has officially increased taxes on steel and aluminum to 25% on Wednesday. Positive taxes will help create U.S. factory jobs at the time, with seesawing terror threats and jolting stock market and raising fears of an economic slowdown. The EU duties aim for pleasure in the U.S. while minimizing additional damage to Europe, and EU officials have made clear that the tariffs and taxes on imports are aimed at the products that Republican-held states such as beef, poultry from Kansas and Nebraska, and wood products from Alabama and Georgia. The tariffs will also hit blue states such as Illinois and the number one U.S. producer of soybeans, which are also on the list. Spirits producers have become collateral damage in the dispute over steel and aluminum. The EU move is deeply disappointing and will severely undercut the successful efforts to rebuild the U.S. spirits exports in EU countries, says Chris Swanger, a head of Distill Sports Council. The EU is a major destination for the U.S. whiskey, with exports surging 60% in the past 3 years after an earlier set of the tariffs was suspended. Could there be an agreement with the increasing the tariffs off the table? Von der Leyen said in a statement that the EU will always remain open to renegotiation. Canada's incoming Prime Minister Mark Carney said Wednesday that he was ready to meet with Trump, and if he shows respect for Canadian sovereignty and is willing to take a common approach, a more comprehensive approach for trade. Carney, who will be sworn on in Friday, and workers in both countries will be better off when the greatest economic and security partnership in the world is renewed, relaunched. That is possible. We firmly believe that the world is fraught with geopolitical and economic uncertainties, and it's not in our common interest to burden our economies with tariffs, she said. And the American Chamber of Commerce to the EU said that the U.S. tariffs and EU countermeasures will only harm jobs, prosperity, and security on both sides of the Atlantic. Two sides that must de-escalate and find a negotiated outcome urgently, the chamber said Wednesday. And what will actually happen? Trump slapped similar tariffs on EU steel and aluminum during the first term in office, which engaged European and other allies. The EU also imposed countermeasures in the retaliation at the time, raising tariffs to the U.S.-made motorcycles, bourbon, peanut butter, and jeans, among other items. This time, the EU will involve two steps. First, on April 1st, the Commission will reimpose taxes that were in effect from 2018 to 2020, which are suspended under the Biden administration. Then on April 13th will come the additional duties of targeting 18 billion euros, 19.6 billion euros in the U.S. exports to the bloc. The EU Trade Commissioner Mario Sefcovic traveled to Washington last month in an effort to head off the tariffs, meeting with the U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and other top trade officials. He said on Wednesday that it will become clear during the trip that the EU is not the problem. I argue to avoid the unnecessary burden of the measures, countermeasures, but you will not need a partner for that. You need both hands to clap and serve COVID told reporters that European Parliament in Strasbourg, France. Canada is imposing as of 12:01 a.m. Thursday, 25% of reciprocal tariffs of steel products worth $12.6 billion Canadian, US $8.7 billion, and aluminum products worth $3 billion Canadian, US $2 billion, and as well as additional imported US goods worth $14.2 billion Canadian, $9.9 billion, and a total of $29.8 billion US, total of $20.6 billion. And the list of products that's affected by counter tariffs includes tools, computers, and servers, display monitors, water heaters, sports equipment, and cast iron fryers. I read that earlier. These tariffs are conditioned to addition to Canada's 25% counter tariffs on $30 billion Canadian and US $20.8 billion imports from the US that were placed in March the 4th in response to other Trump tariffs that he's delayed by the month, and U.S. steel companies brace for losses. EU could lose up to 3.7 million tons of steel exports, according to the European Steel Association, EU4. The U.S. is the second biggest export market in the EU for steel producers, representing 16% of the total EU steel exports. The EU estimates the annual trade value between the both sides stands at about 1.5 trillion, representing around 30% of global trade. While the bloc has a substantial export of surplus in goods, and it says is a partially offset by the U.S. surplus in the trade of services. And McHugh reported from the Frankfurt, and Gillies from Toronto, and Jill Lawless contributed to this report in London. And the previous version of the story is corrected by that Maros Sefcovic, title the EU Trade Commissioner, not the European Commission Vice President. All I got to say, and that's all I've read for this. That's all the article that I've read from this story. And my thoughts about this is that the administration, the Trump administration, and what's going on now, it is an absolute sloppy mess. I mean, already, now with these ongoing aluminum like tariffs and what they're taking and the host of items that they're taking away from products, raising taxes on the cost of items as well, from like computers and servers, monitors, equipment. These are things that primarily Americans, we all use, and we all use like on a daily basis. And it's just it just makes it to the standpoint of just like where are we gonna really be at and we're pretty much going to be at loss with the cost of prices and raising the taxes of the cost of these products that they're already using from when we buy from stores. And now you're just making it pretty much to the point where it's impossible for us the things to get bought and to us to consume on a daily basis, man. And so we really got to look at ourselves and be like, we got to have some sort of like primary ownership of our own, because it don't seem like what they're looking at in their version of like dirty capitalism is really coming to a back and coming to a fore. And especially when Canada is making pretty much all of the money from steel, aluminum that we're purchasing from them, that they're supplying with us, but we're pretty much embedded with them from their technology, from their steel, their products, and how that's being primarily transitioned over. So with the raising of the prices from them and how much in total cost of what they're making and what we're making from it and what we're profiting off of it, how it transitions and how it transfers and goes. And also with the European, with the European Union, with the raising taxes on American products, that also is an effect as well, and it also really hurts and primarily what we also consume from them as well. And it kind of just looks at as well, and when already with them cutting and trying to eliminate and take away from ages from the Social Security. Now with this going on with these tariffs, it's kind of scary where the future, where the economy is going to be holding at the end of the day. And I'm kind of really scared for a lot of people who voted and men voted these people inside the administration in for the future, because we don't know where it's going to do. And they try to sit up here and say this is going to be like a way of helping as far as factory jobs, and raise taxes is going to help the better chances of like other like factory jobs, and helps the limit amount of cost and the exertion amount of cost. It is, I really think, like this quote says from von der Leyen, yeah, it's definitely not only bad for business and worse for the consumers, it's worse for just the average amount of Americans living in the world right now. I don't trust where this administration is gonna go. I never really wanted to put I never really, and just not only me, I don't think a majority of um, blacks and the majority of just America period wanted to see this even go on and even happen. So just goes to show you where the state of affairs of just American culture is at now. Just the blatant disregard, ignorance, and just overall where we are standing at. And if this continues to go way left, and we're pretty much going to be in for a free fall. So uh, hope to see it, things like kind of, as they probably going to say, it's not going to get better, it's only going to get worse with the lesser amount of tariffs. So we'll see where it goes at this point. But I don't think it's going to do, I think it's going to cause more damage, collateral damage, and more harm than actual good. And so we just got to see where we at right now. And I don't think we're going to be there for the long haul. But yeah, let me guys know what you think about this down in the comment section. I am going to leave and do another stream. So thank you guys for watching. I'm out.